So this is a very right way I would suggest if you are looking forward for a career in data engineering. This is the right path. Let me justify for what reason I said this is the right path. If you scroll down into this certification, and this is a link that you can even verify, which is available on the internet. You just go ahead and click this link, you will be able to reach to this page. So if you go ahead and look into the details about it, it's actually held by the company called Microsoft. Their product, which is a cloud, is under the brand called Azure. So it's the company that certifies you is Microsoft. So that means Microsoft is verifying, or Microsoft is giving a candidature to you that you are a certified Azure data engineer if you clear this exam. Now, what they check in this exam? So, what you need to demonstrate in this exam? A skill of a data engineer. So, what is that skill of a data engineer is something that I'm going to go ahead and explain you. To get an understanding, what I would request you people is that if you scroll down, you will see the tabs like preparing for the exam, practice for the exam, take the exam, and then your certification. You just go to prepare for the exam if you are looking forward to prepare the exam, or there are other tabs into it, but I would request you people to just come to a tab which says an overview. That means at a very high level, I'll give you an idea about it. Assuming that you are preparing for this exam, and this exam needs to validate the skills that you have learned. So, what is that skills that this examination gets validate? What skills that they will validate? So, what they basically check is if you're sitting for the exam as a candidate, you should be having some good expertise, that is a subject matter expertise, in what? In integrating, transforming, and consolidating data that is coming from various sources that involve structured and unstructured and streaming data sources into suitable schema for building analytical solutions. Now that's pretty good piece of information, but for those people who do not get connected with it, I'll make it simple and easy. That means what they are asking you to show as a skill set, the data can be given to you in the form of a structured data or an unstructured data or streaming data. You should be able to go ahead and build a structure for that data so that the team who's dependent on that data can build their analytical solutions on top of it. So it's like whether it is a structured, unstructured, and semi-structured and streaming, all the data you will have to bring at one place so that teams can go ahead and build their analytical solutions around it. They can go ahead and build solutions around it. That's a very primary aspect in the examination. That is what they basically check in the candidate. That what is your approach towards data analytic solutions design. They take away from this examination at a very high level. Participants, have you understood this? So the data can come to you. If you are a data engineer, you will be taking the data from any source, structured, unstructured, streaming sources. You'll build the storage in such a way that you get all the data at one place and you build analytical solutions out of it. Let me give you a real life scenario. Let me go ahead and take you through a complete system that you will get to get an understanding of system end to end. Let me take you to data sets, very popular data sets. So, for example, I want to go ahead and get started to go ahead and build some popular data sets. So, let's bring some popular data sets around. Let me type in this way, popular data sets. Popular data sets means where you can find data readily available for you to use. So, Kaggle is a very popular website. A lot of organizations till date use some popular data sets for the purpose of practice. So, let's use some data sets. Kaggle is a company that is that is actually backed up by Google. So you'll get a lot of data set that's very popular for your purpose, like the purpose of your practice. So let me just go ahead and use this data store data set from Adidas. For example, client is Adidas and they hired you for the role play of a data engineer, and they wanted to go ahead and you to build a solution that which models in the Adidas store are the best. So this is a competition. For example, just I'm going with this very simple way to make you understand. So the client is Adidas. They have a data set where they have data about the shoe or the footwear that they are selling, and they want you to go ahead and build solutions around it, which models are best sold. So for this reason, we need to get this data pulled here. So you can see that they have the data pulled. The data is available here. So the data is available in the form of different modules like country dimension, shoes, facts, everything. So I want to go ahead and download it. So I want to get this file downloaded. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and look for the download. So if I have to download it, I need to go ahead and use this. So it is available as a zip file. So for this, I need to go ahead and do a sign in. Something that I'm trying to do is the live data set I'm trying to do. Now, participants, I'm sharing my screen back here. I hope my screen is visible to everyone now. I made a successful login to my Kaggle account and now it is available. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and continue to download this data set, and this data set is now available for me to download. So participants, purposefully I've done this. I wanted to go ahead and show you that everything I'm trying to do is from scratch. Okay, so participants, now I have a zip file that I've downloaded. So I'm going to go ahead and unzip this file and I will extract it to confirm the availability of the data into it. So I'm trying to go ahead and extract this data. Now participants, I have this data which is available, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and rename this file with some folder name as data. I want to go ahead and give the folder data for Adidas shoe sales. This is the data that I got from internet. So participants, everyone, are we good? Participants, are we good here? Step one is very clear. See, what I'm trying to go ahead and give you is now there is data that is given to you. How do you go ahead and take this data? And using this data, how are you building solutions around it? As a client, Adidas hired me and they wanted me to go ahead and build analytical solutions because I'm a certified Azure data engineer and I'm going to show to the client Adidas that how skilled I am in fetching the data. Why? Because participants, very simple logic, right? Nobody in this world, even the Adidas store, the team from the Adidas, don't want to go ahead and look at the data just because the data is available in the form of a file. They wanted to go ahead and build an easy way to go ahead and understand how the products are happening, how the sales are happening. See, nobody in this world would be very much interested in looking at this information just because that the information is available in such a format in the form of an Excel sheet. They wanted to get a pretty good and a neat, they want to get a summarized information maybe in the form of some images, dashboards, which would be easy for them to understand. So I have some data set that I've prepared that I got it. Now I will continue to go ahead and move to other data sets. Let's go ahead and also check some other data sets like facts about the shoes that they have. So I'm trying to show you one by one. Yeah, you can see here how the products are available for them and the sales that are happening inside the country. So let's use the country data set. Here it is. Now what I want to do is participants, now I want to take one more step now. That is, the next step is to bring data into Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft Azure offers us quite a lot of products under the data engineering module, which you can have a look as we progress into the session. I'll talk about them individually. But for now, let me just go ahead and give you a very easiest way to get connected. Now, I have data that is not available in Azure. So I need to get this data pulled into Azure. So I need to identify where I can go ahead and store this data. Participants, very simple and easy way for me to get started is find a storage. The storage is now in the form of a file. So I need to go ahead and store this data inside a file or a file storage. So participants, what I'll go ahead and ask is, hey, do you have any storage service that is available for me? So it is giving me some storage accounts. So I went into the storage account. Now participants, there are two types of storages under the storage account. One is blob storage in Microsoft Azure and the other one is data lake. So what is the difference? The difference is pretty simple. They go ahead and allow you to store your data. That's it. A data lake is a blob. Let's start with the blob. Blob is purely allowed to store your data in the form of objects, whereas data lakes that you get to see in storage accounts are predominantly an extra layer with regards to storage. They'll also have file system associated with it. Now, what I'll do, I'll choose data lake because there is file system for me. And then what I'll do, I'll go ahead and start uploading this data. So while I'm uploading the data, it'll ask me where you want to upload this file. Browse for the file, and I want to go ahead and upload this file to my, let's upload this. It is asking me, would you like to go ahead and store? Yes, I would like to create a new folder where I want to store. So I want to store Adidas data. Adidas shoe sales or shoe sales data that I want. I want to go ahead and make this folder where I want to upload this data into. Basically, I'm just getting the data from my local system into cloud storage. So participants, have you understood now why did I go ahead and use this cloud storage? Because as a data engineer in Microsoft Azure, I'm supposed to go ahead and build solutions around Azure cloud. That's the primary requirement, right? I need to bring a storage to get all the data pulled into. So for that reason, I looked for a storage service and I found a storage service, and I did go ahead and store my data. So participants, now let me show you the data that I have in the system. See now, this data that was available on my local system, now it is part of cloud storage. Okay, that's the primary need, right? At least we need to get the data pulled into storage. That's why I took up data lake storage to place my data. Done job. Next thing, that this data is purely in the form of storage. There is nothing for me unless until I go ahead and process it. I need to go ahead and process this data. I need to get some processing information out of it. I need to figure out some storage. So to figure out the storage, now I need to go ahead and put a question for myself that how I'm going to go ahead and process it. So with regards to process, I'm looking forward to go ahead and get this data into processing solutions. I need to get the data pulled and process it. So with regards to process, I have a lot of processing engines. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and ask on the internet, hey, can you go ahead and give me some top 10 the data processing tools or engines that are available that I can go ahead and use it. So this brings us me to the top 10 engineering tools which with regards to processing, and I found Apache Spark. So participants, I'm not going to go ahead and talk more about, I'm not going to talk about Apache Spark, why it is all that, but let me connect the dots now. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and look for Spark. So the moment I go ahead and look for Spark, I'll go ahead and ask in the Azure, hey Azure, on the internet I found Apache Spark to be a great choice with regards to big data processing. Do you have any solutions around it? It said yes, there are quite a lot of solutions around it, and I found Databricks and Synapse. So participants, for simplest and easiest reason, since I have a couple of services that are available, let me start with Azure Synapse Analytics, which is very popular Microsoft service that does go ahead and give me fully managed Spark service. So it's a fully managed orchestration to support my Spark. Now, what is Spark? Now I'll go ahead and talk about it. Spark is a very popular engine. After Hadoop, it came into existence to do big data processing. So it's like a very popular way of transforming and handling and processing your big data. Now it is very difficult for everyone who are not into the big data processing tools. For those people who are very new and who are not getting connected here, very simple. Apache Spark is a very popular big data processing tool. Using that, we will go ahead and process our data. Now, participants, I'm supposed to go ahead and bring data. So I'm trying to go ahead and create a solution around it. So I need to go ahead and get started. So I'm just giving some details. Don't worry about all these details. Let me go ahead and put out a Synapse workspace so that I can go ahead and bring data. and let me go ahead and put the data lake and the file system. Yeah. So it is going to read the data from this particular file system. So what I've done, participants, in simplest and easiest terms for everyone to get connected. Synapse, as I said, it is a solution that offers Spark for big data processing. I went a workspace. I have to provision a workspace to run my queries. So for that, I'm trying to go and talk to the data lake where I kept my data and the data with regards to shoe sales. With that, just make a quick review for it and make a connectivity and run your query. So now I'm provisioning the workspace for it. Let me just check the status of the workspace. So it is still there. So it's coming up. Okay. So while it is coming up, so let me just add some more details into it from the certification standpoint. So participants, I picked up a service in Azure at this moment, which is the data lake storage and Azure Synapse Analytics. So these are the couple of services that I picked. Now, if you are looking forward to go ahead and handle the data processing, you see there are quite a list of examination questions or the syllabus covering up what services that you need to take into consideration. So what purpose I've used data lake? To store my data. That is where data lake storage comes into picture. So at a very high level, data lake storage is a central storage that is offered by Microsoft Azure to store your data from structure to that of unstructured to that of semi-structured. So data lake storage is a storage service. Next, for what purpose did I use Synapse? The purpose of the storage or the purpose of using Synapse is primarily around that when I saw the big data processing tools, I found Apache Spark. So I looked for the Spark based solutions in Microsoft Azure and I found Synapse here. And also, participants, parallelly, you would have noticed that there was also an option called Databricks. So let me revisit this point one more time. If I go and type in Spark here, you see Databricks is being listed here and Azure Synapse. I've chosen Azure Synapse. So what is that I want you to memorize? If you are looking forward to go and do processing using Apache Spark, there are quite popular services and very much recommended because 70% of your examination is around Databricks and Synapse. So participants, for what reason this has been listed under your syllabus? This is listed under your syllabus for one simple reason that Apache Spark, since it's a big data processing tool, then that managed service offering is given under the name in Microsoft Azure as Azure Synapse and Azure Databricks. So is that very clear to all of you people now? Why this syllabus includes Databricks and why this syllabus includes Synapse? Is that very clear to all of you people? Is the connect the dot connecting the dot is very clear, everyone? So why they're using Synapse? Because Apache Spark is associated with Databricks. Why is that we are using Synapse? Apache Spark is associated with Azure Synapse. I hope is that very clear, everyone? Okay. Now, let me just check the status of it. Synapse is still ongoing. So if it is still ongoing, let me go ahead and give you a little more insight about Apache Spark. So if you look into the explanation of Apache Spark, the way that Apache Spark has been adapted by the organizations is amazing. Earlier to Apache Spark, Hadoop was very trendy. Hadoop has been almost the first of its kind under big data processing. Started somewhere around 2003, 2004. That became instant hit by the time it got launched into the system or it launched to the real world. When it was launched to the real world, Hadoop became very popular. But the problem with Hadoop was becoming very much insignificant to the changes in the big data, like the rise of the social media, the rise of the internet 3.0. Hadoop was very slow. So Spark has taken over Hadoop because of its in-memory capability. Because Apache Spark is very strong in this, big data processing for a very simple reason because of in-memory computation. So now, if you are looking forward to do data engineering module around any cloud, AWS, Azure, GCP, Databricks, anything, fundamentally you should be very, very strong in Apache Spark. Is that very clear to all of you people? Participants, is that very clear? So if your aim in future is to become good in terms of data engineering, or if you want to become a good data engineer around AWS, Azure, GCP, Databricks, any given cloud, you have to be very, very strong in data processing using Apache Spark. I hope participants is this very clear with regards to the Apache Spark definition that I wanted to talk about. Is that very clear, everyone? So, what is Apache Spark? Apache Spark is predominantly the number one choice that we will be using for our big data processing. So, how it will be used in Azure? It will be available for you in the form of Synapse. It will be available in the form of Databricks. And that is also part of the syllabus that we are learning for Azure DP203. Synapse and Databricks. So participants, now let's focus a little about Apache Spark. So Apache Spark is basically a popular web service or popular service that is available for your big data processing. Now, I need Spark to do the job. So Apache Spark is a assembly level language. That means it does not understand human language. It does not understand, or when we pass instructions to Apache Spark, we are supposed to go and pass instructions at the memory level. Memory level is purely assembler language. That means we need some human understandable language like Python, SQL, Scala, Java, and R, the methods that the languages that humans understand. So, can we interpret the language by writing a code in Python and give it to Spark? And that's how participants you will get to see PySpark coming into picture. So, what is PySpark here? When you go ahead and write your instructions in Python to Apache Spark, Python plus Spark becomes this module as PySpark. I hope, Rahul, that answers your question now very clearly. So we have to go and write instructions to Apache Spark by using Python as the medium, because Python is a language that you and me can understand. But for a machine does not understand Python language. Machine understand the compiler level language. So we need to write a code in Python that will be taken in the form of Apache Spark code as a compiler language, and it go ahead and pass those instructions. So participants, now this rounds off a very important question that I do need to learn Apache Spark. Now, my answer for this question is 100% yes. You need to go ahead and learn for 100% sure the Apache Spark skill. If you don't, you will not be able to do 70% of your syllabus, because 70% of your syllabus is purely around data processing, involving Synapse, involving Databricks. So whether you want to do Databricks, whether you want to do Azure data engineering using Synapse and Databricks, you have to become comfortable in Apache Spark. A very important question has been answered. So if it is, participants, can I continue back into the Adidas programming? Participants, can I continue into the example? Participants, can I? Now, coming back into the system. So what I said, I wanted to go ahead and give you a full length idea. So I have now started with the storage. Now I'm in the processing. So the processing module is ready with regards to Azure Synapse. So I have now a Synapse module. And now let me go ahead and take you into the Synapse module. So what is the Synapse module? Synapse module is now going to give me everything that I want to do programming, Spark, SQL, and so on. So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and show you participants that how I'm going to go ahead and build a solutions around it. So let me go ahead and give you the data. So now there are a lot of tabs that are available. Now it becomes very difficult for you now to understand. But fundamentally, I am connecting to the data. So what kind of data? Data lake storage. So I found data lake storage. What is the container where I've stored my data? The data that I've stored is in Adidas shoe sales data. So I want to go ahead and open this Adidas shoes store data. Now the data is available in the form of a file. Now I can go ahead and run a SQL query to run my, I want to go ahead and get my results pulled here. So I would like to go ahead and run a query that helps me to fetch my data. So participants, what is happening here? I'm trying to run a query that is expected to go ahead and give me the shoe sales, all the data about the shoe sales. There we go, participants. Now you see, I'm able to go ahead and fetch the data about the sales here. So what is an important learning that you have done here, people? You have been able to get the data right? You have been able to get the data pulled from source. So what is that source? A source about your Adidas shoe sales, and you are able to retrieve the data from a file, and you are able to go ahead and run your queries here. Now you can see I'm able to run a SQL query. Now let me get back to this definition and let me make you understand what exactly this liner has now to do. So participants, my data was available in the form of an unstructured data, the CSV file about Adidas shoe sales. What I've done, I brought it into a suitable schema and build an analytical solution around it. So participants, this example should help you to understand that if data is given to you, in our case, I have brought up the data from Adidas shoe store, which is a unstructured data, which is in the form of a CSV file. I brought it into Synapse module and I built a solution around it by building a table around it. So what is the benefit that I'm getting now? The benefit that I get is now the data is since available in the system. This data can be used by the team. The team can go ahead and use it. For example, let's say my business analyst is sitting next to me and he wants to go ahead and build solution around this file. Now this file is available in data lake. That means it can be easily pulled from data lake. And once it can be pulled from the data lake, we can go ahead and run our queries here. So everybody who is part of they can be able to go ahead and build it. They can go ahead and build the charts around it. See how they are able to go ahead and build solutions around it. So the point that I want you to get connected and the point that I want you to get this logic very clear is that I have transformed the data that was available in the form of a file by bringing data into Azure as part of the data lake and build a solution around it, and I'm now able to go and run a query. Now this is file. I'm able to go and run my SQL queries. Why? Because I built a solution around it. Hope this logic sounds very clear to all of you people. Participants, is that very clear now? So likewise, you will be asked to go ahead and work in various scenarios, databases, SQL compliant databases, NoSQL databases, Cosmos DB, blobs, external storages, and you will be required to go and process that data. So what is the processing engines we will be using? Spark. Under the Spark, you will get to see Databricks, you will get to see Synapse, and moreover, participants, where we get to store our data? Data lakes. We store the data as part of the data lakes. Now, with regards to movement of your data, so I have done it manually, participants, but as we progress, we are required to go ahead and connect with the data sources and build data movement, data transformation, data cleansing. And for that reason, we have to use ETL pipelines, and ETL pipelines are built by Data Factory. So Data Factory will help you to build your ETL pipelines. So participants, now what is the need for us to go ahead and use Data Factory into our syllabus? The Data Factory is purely about the idea of data movement. That means you pull it from your data source, like your database, maybe from your SQL database, maybe from your NoSQL database. You clean it. You drop some queries that are not required. Data Factory will help you to do that. The word factory, if you visualize what happens in a factory, for example, automobile factory, you will be seeing that all the raw materials are taken up, they get assembled, and you will get a final product. Exactly the same thing happens in data factory also. All the raw data is pulled, cleaned, transformed, and you will get a final product that you can use it against Synapse and Databricks, where you will store the data once again back in data lake. Now, there is another keyword that has been mentioned, which is called streaming data. Streaming data involves data with regards to stream, like continuously you will be receiving data. So with regards to streaming, what are the modules that Azure has to offer? So with regards to streaming, you see here, you will be able to get to see under streaming, Azure Streaming Analytics. You can go ahead and use Azure Databricks for your streaming, and you can go ahead and use storage for all the streaming data under Event Hubs. And that's why it is mentioned as part of the syllabus. So it is mentioned as part of the syllabus. Streaming Analytics and Event Hub. So what is the purpose of streaming analytics? The purpose of streaming analytics is to go ahead and handle that type of data where we should expect the data to be streaming. That means continuously data gets streamed. Every minute to minute you see data coming in, like the data that is coming from your sensors, from your devices, any systems that sends data continuously, you have to receive and process it. That's your streaming data. So we need an engine to process it. So you get to see streaming analytics, where you go ahead and store your data, event streaming, event hubs. So participants, now let's get back to the first liner that I've discussed. The first liner said what? If you're sitting for the examination as a candidate, so you have to build a skill that should help you to get subject matter expertise in getting your data, integrating, that means from various sources, SQL databases, NoSQL databases, blobs, cloud proprietors, transforming, cleaning, and then consolidating, bringing all the data together, which can come from any format, structured format, unstructured format, streaming, and then you build solutions so that you can get analytical solutions built around that module. And see, participants, how Azure has measured your skills by bringing what services you are required to go and learn through. So you will be learning data lakes to store your data, Databricks for your SQL program, Spark and SQL, Azure Synapse for Spark and SQL, Data Factory for your data movement, streaming analytics for your streaming data, and streaming data storage with regards to Event Hub. And that is how the syllabus is taken up. Participants, now I'll go ahead and add, I will add one little point here. If you are good in Apache Spark, participants, not only with regards to certification, it will be also helping you to go ahead and handle the module which is Databricks. So Databricks is a very popular module under the lakehouse architecture. A lot of companies are currently using this module, and it basically runs on three top cloud providers: AWS, Azure, and GCP. So that means if you are good in Apache Spark, you'll be very good in Databricks, and you can run on any cloud. You can shift to any cloud, AWS, Azure, and GCP. So participants, overall summary is that if you are targeting Azure DP203, get acquainted with these services of Azure, from Azure Data Lake to that of Azure Synapse to that of Azure Data Factory to that of Azure Databricks and so on. Even before that, it is important for you to lay a foundation for your Azure, for your Apache Spark. So you should be good in Apache Spark, then you should make an entry into Azure TP203. So this is my input for all of you people. I hope you like the session, and I hope you got a fair idea about the Azure and its services under Azure DP203.